goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Woolscroft.
We're back.
And better than ever.
And firmer.
And firmer.
And firmer. Who knew?
So, yeah, we're back after about 2 weeks. What was it, about 2 weeks?
It felt like a lifetime.
It did. It
I've
did.
missed this.
Me too.
I miss you, my beauties.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not dead.
We're alive.
We're alive.
And kicking.
I was half dead.
Mm-hmm. You were close.
Yeah.
I was pretty close.
We're going to try very hard not to hack, wheeze, or have diarrhea on
there's
the
a
mic,
good
unless that's your thing.
John's not going to try that hard not to have diarrhea.
There's a very good chance that I will probably cough at least once.
That's fine.
Or twice on this episode, and that's because I was
3
dealing
times.
with 3 times.
So you guys could make it a drinking game, you know.
And there's number
There.
1.
If you believe in yourselves and in tequila, we salute.
I wouldn't do shots, though.
No.
Sip some brew. Sip some brew. Let's be safe, guys.
Keep it clean.
Drink
Keep it safe,
responsibly.
yeah.
Be safe. Be firm.
Yeah.
You know.
So how was your week? Or 2 weeks, I guess.
Good.
Good.
I was just a shell of myself waiting to do this podcast. I slept in the tub. My hair fell out.
Your hair fell out.
I was eating my toenails and pissing in jars. But that's somewhat normal for me.
It's a mostly normal week for you. The toenails were weird, but that was about it.
The toenails. I see. I was coughing
Fibers.
up lungs because I had bronchitis.
No lungs.
And it's kind of hard to do a podcast when you're coughing up lungs.
True.
This is what people tune in for, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. They
Hearing
tune in to hear
a
about.
few weeks of utter sickness.
You want the reviews, you have to take the madness
You
that
do.
goes with it,
You
all
do.
right?
You really do.
The audience is just our doctor. Doctor, my stool is a little more loose than usual. Is it supposed to sink?
I got some type of mole thing on my scrotum, and I don't know how to. What is that? What is that?
Mole.
A
That's
scrote
where
mole.
we've gone.
Yeah.
We've gone
Speaking
to
of
scrote mole.
scrote moles and shit, Suicide Squad. Oh no, it's not time for the
No,
transition.
it's not time for that.
I was perfect though.
Your
You were
timing's a little.
premature
Your
at
timing's a
best.
little off.
It happens to some guys, John. It's
Your timing's a little off on that. No, it's a little bit of sad news.
yeah, no, super sad news.
Super sad news.
Yeah, no, guys, Gene Wilder died. Like, this is bullshit. Everything is stupid. I just want to go home.
My memes are now going to be wanting.
No, oh, it's
Because
gonna
you know
ruin the
how many
Wonka
times I would
meme.
use the you lose, you get nothing, good day sir meme. That would be my go-to meme for most things. And now I don't have that. And I don't have the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, oh, so you think, blah 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 and blah blah blah, that meme?
Yeah.
That's gone
yeah.
now. That's gone now.
It's gone to us. But yeah, we had as I'm sure a lot of people have checked into the reports and everything, there was a statement issued from his nephew. Mr. Wilder died of complications due to Alzheimer's, and it's really sad that somebody so wonderful, in addition to now no longer being with us, was also so sick.
Well, and I apologize. This is professionalism. What is the name of the actor from Star Trek that died recently?
Oh, boy,
The
we
actor
talked
from
about him.
Star Trek who died.
Yeah, of the newer films.
Oh, Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, Anton, that's it.
Yeah.
I was about to say, as sad as it is that Gene Wilder died because he was such an amazing talent, at least the man was in his 80s. Like, he did live a full life. Like, we're obviously going to be sad that he's passed away, but he was in his 80s. He had some troubles near the end, but, he lived a full life. So,
yeah, that's true. I mean, you think about it of how tragic Anton Yelchin's death was and Gene Wilder's. But I think that the big thing is that Gene Wilder left such a mark on cinema.
Well, I mean, he's an icon. Like, that's
the man's an
difference,
icon.
We mourn someone like Anton Yelchin because he didn't have
of
a
how
chance
tragic
to,
it was.
And he didn't have a chance to necessarily do anything just yet with his career. He was beginning to, but it's a light snuffed out too soon, right? But I mean, we've lost a legend in losing Gene Wilder. I mean, there's so many movies, it's hard to even say what he's most famous for. And I've seen a lot of tribute events popping up, like with our friends at the Hollywood Theater.
Yeah.
They've been doing a couple of events now. I don't know if it was already scheduled, but they're doing a breakfast and a brunch and a movie for Young Frankenstein.
Oh, and that's my favorite.
Mine too.
That and Willy Wonka are both kind of
what's better, Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein?
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Wrong.
It's close.
Wait, wrong. The producers. Trick question.
Wow, you're a dick.
Well, you think about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That movie was made in the 60s. Why?
Actually, it was made in the 70s.
Was it?
I believe early 70s.
Ooh. Okay. But why does that movie again and again and again speak to a new generation? It's mostly because of Gene Wilder. His performance as Willy Wonka is timeless. His work with Mel Brooks is timeless. And from all I've heard, from all extensive purposes, this wasn't Tom Cruise who puts on a great public persona and a real son of a bitch. He was legitimately a nice, decent man.
Absolutely.
So he wasn't just a great entertainer. He was a good human being.
Yeah. Well, I mean, too, if you see, he had been with Gilda Radner. He's been married several times, and he was with Gilda Radner, and he was with her. They were, together romantically when she was sick. When she got ovarian cancer, and when she passed away, and he scaled back on films to take care of her, and he didn't work much after she died.
Well, you know what he did after? He actually was one of the major advocates for cancer research afterward.
Yeah, because I was reading the story of her.
Amazing stuff he did.
And I was reading the story of her illness, and it basically was a story that we sadly hear too much. I knew something was wrong. I knew I was sick, but no one could find it until it was too late. And I mean, we're talking about science at a time when we have so much more available to us now, but the problems that she was having, sometimes she would feel a little off and then she'd be fine, but with the technology that they had then, they couldn't find the cancer until she was like stage 4.
It's a terrible thing. I know my grandmother went through ovarian cancer and passed away from it, and it was around the same sort of time. It's a terrible thing. I mean, but I guess the one thing you could take away is that Gene Wilder did live a full life. He did contribute a lot more so than just comedy. And I think you'll never find another one quite like him. I don't think it exists anymore. With any comedian that comes out, I don't think they'll ever be able to match that. And I was watching a YouTube interview that he had done a couple of years back. And he actually remarked on modern comedy, and he was like, he didn't get it. He said there was too much swearing, and the jokes just weren't really funny. They weren't his thing, because that's the thing. You look at all of his work, and it's smart humor. It's not necessarily fuck this and fuck that. It's well thought out humor that ties in with the character. Like, he was an actor first before a comedian.
Yeah, but he was also a writer, and he didn't want to just play stupid. I think that there was always an intelligence there. Isn't that quote his, I'm an actor, not a clown?
Yeah.
So I think that speaks of where he was coming from with his craft as well,
He was very selective. If you look, he only has 37 acting credits.
And he was in the business for a long time.
A long time. Yeah. But Brian could call it 1971 for Willy Wonka.
Yeah, see? Got it.
Yep. It was right on the cusp. I wasn't too far off. But, 37, and I mean, they're all, sure, there's probably one or two in there that aren't great. But, his work with Richard Pryor, his work with Mel Brooks, Willy Wonka, as we had mentioned, you'd be hard pressed to find duds in there. And most actors you look up, there's gonna be a lot of duds, but not with him.
No.
He knew how to pick roles. He was thoughtful in that way, and and then gave it his all in everything he did. Funny story, Gene Wilder story. Probably the most famous scene in Young Frankenstein is when they do Put It on the Ritz.
Oh yeah.
I like pee my pants every time.
And
It's
Mel
so
Brooks
funny.
was adamantly against that movie because Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, were writing the movie together. It's like, hey, I got a scene. and
He was adamantly against the scene, or the
Mel Brooks was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
was
that.
against the movie.
Sorry,
I think
excuse
you
me.
misspoke.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. Gene Wilder had written this, and he thinks it's absolutely hilarious. Mel Brooks is like, no, it's just too far fetched. It's dumb. It's just not gonna work. And Gene Wilder kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him, and eventually Mel Brooks said, "Okay, it's in," and he just was taken aback, and he's like, "Why?" All of a sudden, this complete out of nowhere change of heart. He said, "If it wasn't funny, you wouldn't push this much for it," and it's probably the most famous scene in the movie.
It's hysterical.
It really
makes me
is.
wet my pants.
They did the same. He did the same sort of thing with Willy Wonka. He almost didn't star in it. Basically, the director, I forget the name of the director, but the director approached him with the script and said, read the script, and he liked the script, but he's like, you know what? I think Willy Wonka should come out of the factory with the cane. Mel Stewart. Okay, he should come out of the factory with a cane and pretend, to be a cripple. And at the point when he gets towards the audience, the crowd that's gathered, he falls over and does a flip. And they originally Mel Stewart didn't want that in there. That was all Gene Wilder. And they basically said, "Are you going to not do the movie? If you don't have that in there?" He's like, "Absolutely, I'm not going to do it if that isn't there." And the reason why is because his idea was that after that scene happens, you cannot trust anything that Willy Wonka presents you in the film.
That's interesting.
And you watch that now and you're just like, it's such an iconic scene because it's absolutely exactly what he meant. He brought up. You get the idea this guy is off his rocker, that you don't know what's truth and what is false.
And you should not take him at
and
face value.
And you can't take him at face value.
And he did such a great job of, playing like an eccentric, bizarre character, but making it an actual human being, unlike a second-rate male model wife beater who decides to put on a wig and buck teeth and just pretend he's, Michael Jackson.
And we have our segue to Suicide Squad.
Is that the segue to Suicide Squad? Or are you just like, I really don't like Johnny Depp right now?
Hey, after we... There you go. Take a shot.
There's already been like 2 of these, and that's the third one.
It's fine. People are getting drunk. It's good.
Yeah.
No. So you were referencing obviously Johnny Depp, who was in the other film that we don't speak of. But I thought you were maybe making reference to Suicide Squad.
Oh no. Well, we can just jump right in.
Cool.
So
it was a human tire fire.
I called it. I
wanted it to be good, okay?
I called it during our summer preview. I said, listen, this movie's bad.
Cheerios, all right?
The movie itself took a dump in its own Cheerios, okay?
Well, I don't want to sound like a complete asshole, but none of these movies are really good except maybe The Dark Knight. That might be the rare exception. Like, they're fun, but they're stupid.
Batman Begins is good,
Batman
too.
Begins was good.
Yeah. But so I didn't expect it to be quote unquote good, but I thought it would at least be entertaining.
You don't expect it to be life changing, but
horribly.
you maybe expect it to be like Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 was fun, didn't hurt anybody. It's
Unless
not
you read the
art.
comics and you didn't like their portrayal of the Mandarin.
That's true.
That's
true.
If you were
Fair.
a big Iron Man fan and you're like, the Mandarin's supposed to be magical and have 10 rings and he's actually supposed to kill people, and then you get this, Trevor Slattery.
If anybody is living
good.
in their basement, writing in a notebook every single thing we say on this show, and can have cataloged it, please tell us how many times we have mentioned Iron Man 3 and the misuse of the Mandarin. I think we do it at least once an episode.
I think we've only done it twice.
Like
this would be 3.
Three
this
times.
this has to be 3.
Maybe. But anyway. I mean, so
I don't even know why this movie failed. I don't.
You know why this movie failed? Because of Batman v Superman.
I think this movie also failed because it was in the hands of a totally incompetent director.
Well, the whole backstory behind this movie was that there actually are 2 cuts of Suicide Squad.
Interesting.
Yes.
This movie reeks of like one chef started a stew,
That's
and then another chef
exactly
came in.
what
and was like,
happened.
I don't know what's being made here, so I'm just gonna put some spices.
Well, there
then
were
another chef came in.
There were 2 chefs. There was Warner Brothers, and there was the director of the film. Mm-hmm. Okay, what was the name of the director of the film?
David Ayer.
David Ayer. Okay, so he had done Fury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a award type movie, that sort of thing. But the whole idea behind this film is that Batman v Superman scared the shit out of Warner Brothers, that they felt they had to go the other spectrum and make this goofy as all fuck with Suicide Squad. So what they did was they recut the movie. They recut it. They added more humor. But the problem is that the movie doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes zero fucking sense.
Maybe they should have focused on that.
It also doesn't make any sense in the sense of, all senses of the word. I mean, it's not like we just don't have a cohesive script, which we don't, or a follow through on storyline, which we don't. But also visualistically, it makes absolutely no sense with the stupid video game graphics that introduced the characters. That was so pointless because it didn't link aesthetically to anything else in the film.
The only positive part I felt about the whole movie was the first act, where you do get kind of a little bit of backstory about him. That part, I was like, okay.
Backstory, people.
Well, you get a flashback.
You get Will Smith and you get Margot Robbie, and that's it. Because
that's true.
Yes. I was excited. I was like, oh, we're gonna get the backstory of everybody. No, just the stars. Just the Fresh Prince and the Wolf of Wall Street, and then we get.
It was mostly the wolf. It was mostly the Wolf of Wall Street's legs.
Yeah,
the whole damn time.
Well, and
that's not Harley Quinn. I'm sorry.
Can we just say for a second that Harley Quinn is completely unnecessary to this movie?
She's a sexy lamp.
Well, she's in the movie.
You're right.
Yes,
she is a sexy lamp.
But she's in the movie because Harley Quinn puts butts in seats. They knew if they put Harley Quinn in the movie, it was going to make a lot of money. But her involvement in this is completely unnecessary, especially when a lot of these people have powers, or somebody like Deadshot doesn't have a power, but he has an unbelievable ability. Her ability is crazy. What the hell is she doing in this movie?
And just truly, I mean, can I just say, and I know I talk about a lot of feminist-minded topics on this show.
That's okay.
But I was fucking offended by Harley Quinn because not only does she fail the sexy fucking lamp test, but absolutely nothing about her was real. She was just a pawn to be pushed around by Dick, and it pissed me off. Everything she did, she had no agenda of her own. She had no ideas of her own.
Her agenda was to get back to Mr. J.
And she was just a puppet.
In an abusive relationship with Mr. J.
Yeah, and it wasn't even anything that then became her own motivations. It just seemed like she was this weak-willed Dr. Quinzel that then turned around and somehow decided to just throw herself in acid for her boo. Fucking vomit. It was awful. Every woman character in this film was fucking abhorrent because everyone was just there to serve Dick, but her most particularly...
Katana really didn't do anything in the movie. That was the one with the mask.
She cried about her husband the whole fucking time.
Which wasn't a giant phallic symbol.
Yeah, the sword.
Yeah, he was trapped in a sword, and all she was crying about her husband. We didn't get her backstory because apparently the other women characters didn't really need to have it. Well,
it wasn't just the women characters. It was any other character that wasn't Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
But at least they had their own motivations, and at least they had their own agenda. They at least gave Deadshot his daughter, so there was motivations for him to be doing something in the film. You know what I mean?
But you know how many times I've seen I've got to save my daughter, I'm a terrible person.
I'm not saying that it wasn't a cliche.
It's over, and I'm so sick and tired of seeing that. That's just piss poor storytelling.
But it was still better than what Harley Quinn got, which was nothing.
We're not talking about the absolute underlying problem with this. I mean, the absurdity of the premise of this movie, and obviously comic book that it's based on. When you have characters in a movie, they have to have an arc. And the problem is...
There's no arc.
Well, the problem is that you have to... In this case, you would have to redeem the characters to some degree. But when you redeem them, they're not fucking villains.
It's true.
So it's absurd, and it fails on its own face.
Well,
because these people aren't villains; they're actually good guys.
And you can actually
so stupid.
Well, you can really tell that the studio absolutely interfered because the movie just doesn't make any sense. It looks like someone came in and chopped it up from what could have been a comprehensible story, but I don't know that that's
from what
true.
I understand, what ended up happening, and this is just through internet reports and things like that, is that they were terrified of Batman v Superman. They were terrified of having a very dark movie to the point where it was going to turn people off, and that's what Batman v Superman was a very dark movie.
But that's not why it turned people off.
It didn't turn people off because it was just a
terrible.
terrible fucking movie.
The worst movie I've ever seen.
But well, I don't know. That's debatable. But
there's a Zack Snyder movie that's worse, Sucker Punch.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Sucker Punch is worse.
Sucker Punch, I'd say.
That's not
is
even
worse.
Zack Snyder's worst movie.
But the whole idea was that they felt that it was because it was too dark, and that was the reason why Batman v Superman failed. And so they went the other direction and made a movie, or basically butchered a movie to make it seem more bright and colorful and crazy. And, it's got dark elements, but because, it exists in the Zack Snyder DC universe, which honestly is piss poor in my opinion. But, they decided to create this goofy fucking movie that honestly, its biggest problem is that, yeah, you've got these villains, and I don't have anything against villains being the anti-hero. Okay, we have that with movies like Deadpool, and it works.
Deadpool, it works,
and it works. But my problem is that they literally only focused on two people. Okay, the main villain in this movie is weak. It's this enchantress person who sends over glob monsters.
Is she the villain, or is Viola Davis the villain?
Well, it depends what level you're looking at.
Spoiler alert.
Well, the whole movie,
Well, there's the brains and the bronze. The enchantress is the bronze villain, and Viola Davis is the brains villain.
Yeah,
but why is the Joker not the villain? It seems like that was an easy thing to do. Just make the Joker the villain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have several issues that I do need to address. So number one, why did the Enchantress have to be fucking naked? I thought that was stupid.
That was not a problem.
That was stupid.
No, it was all right.
It was fucking stupid. I know that girl's a model, but I'm sorry if it makes you firm.
She had a great character development. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fuck you. I thought that the character of Viola Davis's character, Amanda Waller, sloppily handled, mishandled, absolutely stupid. Like, when we're supposed to see the twist that she's the bad guy, I was basically just like, what the fuck just happened?
Well,
didn't make any
the villain
sense
from the beginning. Like, Viola Davis is an amazing actor.
She's unbelievable. Yeah. She's unbelievable.
But she is terrible in this. She comes in, I'm gonna eat a steak wearing an I'm a bad guy shirt.
Yeah, and this is the woman who, I mean, she gives us drama every week on How to Get Away with Murder. Like, she is genius.
I don't watch that show, so I mean,
there's clips of her even just online. Even if you don't watch the show, like, they'll fucking give you chills. Like, she's brilliant, and like in this movie, utterly wasted. Utterly wasted.
Well, the problem is that we've had good versions of Amanda Waller already. The Justice League animated series had one of the best versions of Amanda Waller, voiced by CeCe Pounder. And then you've also got I know. And then you've also got, the version of Amanda Waller that's on Arrow. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. It's like, we've had Suicide Squad already. It was on Arrow. And Warner Brothers sacked the whole Suicide Squad line on Arrow because of this fucking movie. They got rid of all of it.
So gross.
And this is what we got to the show for. Yeah, I didn't really care for Viola Davis. I was like, she's kind of interesting. I just felt that the Brawn villain, I guess, was just incredibly, cliche.
Well, again, pushed around by Dick. I mean, like, the character of the Enchantress is one half of the other character, June Moon, and there's this whole, like doomed love triangle, I guess, of, like,
that
June
was
being
orchestrated by Amanda Waller.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so, I mean, every female character is just a pawn for somebody else. Like, there's no self-motivation. I mean, I guess the Enchantress has a few of her own motivations, but again, it's something that if you've seen...
Dancing and want to take over the world.
If you've seen any superhero movie, I mean, the conventions have been done, and what really bothers me about this, and I was thinking about this earlier...
I've never seen a giant laser in the sky that was supposed to kill everybody. I've never seen that in a superhero
I've never seen that
before.
Never.
I mean,
that would be amazing to see that.
You guys are buttholes. But no, I just one of the things that really bothers me about the film is that I feel like, as a writer, David Ayer could have shown some actual promise. I mean,
Did he write this too?
Yeah, he wrote this. He also wrote fucking Training Day, which isn't a bad movie
at all. That's a really good movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that, like, something bad must have happened along the way.
I really think it was the studio's guy.
I feel like you can look at Batman versus Superman and say, okay, that was always a shit show. But you can look at a movie like Suicide Squad and it's confusing because there might be a good movie in there somewhere, but it just got chopped to shit.
Well, why do the studios keep hiring these guys with visions? Why don't they just hire Brett Ratner, who will do whatever they tell him to do? And then they have
Bite
to
your tongue, you son of a bitch.
You shut up.
Well, like, it could be any worse.
Brett
guys.
Ratner should never touch any movie ever.
But my point being, if all they want is
same with
just
U-Ball.
If they want
doofus to do whatever they tell them to do,
right?
then hire somebody like him
who will do it.
And then they have to go back in and do their re-edits, which will take a B- movie to a D- because the studio doesn't realize they have no idea what they're doing and ruin it even
I think
further.
that's the biggest problem here is that this movie is a perfect example of studios thinking they know what the audiences want. They thought that they knew what we wanted. They thought, oh, goofy fucking cartoon characters, and basically an iTunes playlist for 2 hours. Like that's honestly what it fucking was. That's not a soundtrack.
Yeah.
There was
It's an iTunes
$300 million
playlist.
spent on the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I bet with royalties and everything, it was $300 million.
Well,
So
the movie did cost $175 million to make.
Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
that's how much it cost to make. Opening weekend pulled in $260 million.
Hey, postage to send anal beads to your coworkers ain't cheap, kids.
I mean, we'll get into that too. But the opening weekend was $260 million, but since then it's only pulled in around $285 million. So it made a lot of money the first weekend, and it's hardly made any since.
Yeah.
So I think people realized how terrible it was, and just
word of mouth pretty quick.
And if I could just have an open letter to the studios, it would just be, let fucking filmmakers make films and you will make money.
They don't care about that.
It just sucks because people will go to the movies to see if it's any good, but then it's terrible, but it still made money. It still made a profit. It'll probably still do well overseas.
I was reading an article that said that Suicide Squad is the reason why we don't deserve good movies.
Yeah, this is why we can't have nice things.
Seriously. This, because of the fact that fucking thing made money.
But
the studios
how are we supposed to know?
I'm just saying, the studios are gonna say, well, it made money, so we got to make another one. They're gonna make. I guarantee they're gonna make another one.
I'm sure they will.
Okay.
I really like this movie when it's called Escape from New York.
Oh.
It's the exact same movie.
Kitty has claws.
It's true.
And Escape from New York is fucking awesome. John Carpenter.
Escape from L.A. I love that movie too.
Oh, Brian, no.
Yeah.
What about the surfing scene? What
I like the surfing scene.
What
too.
about the 1996 CGI when he's in the submarine going through flooded Los Angeles?
Listen, we all have our nostalgia reasons, and that movie is mine.
It's true.
Okay.
He did it. He shut off the world.
All right, come on.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
focusing.
So I gotta ask, because honestly, I think this was probably the biggest point of contention, at least prior to seeing it, was the whole idea of the Joker and Jared Leto as the Joker.
I had heard from so many people.
What did you guys think of it?
I had heard from so many people that it was the worst performance in the world, and it was so awful. He was so ridiculous, and so I was prepared for that. And honestly, he was just unspeakably forgettable to me. He wasn't horrible. He was just forgettable.
No, I totally disagree. I think he was absolutely awful. I think he took an iconic character, and I don't know what kind of fucking ego that dude is dealing with, but everything about him pisses me off. So I'm not a big fan anyway.
You're not a big fan of him as an actor?
As an actor, as a human, anything.
As a human.
Because
Great in Dallas Buyers Club.
No, he wasn't. He played a cartoon character, and he played it as a man pretending to dress like a woman. He did not pretend to be a person who feels that they are female. He bastardized, basically what we would consider, that kind of performance.
Yeah.
And I think in 20 years, we're going to look back on that and be like, oh, we were so uninformed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think he did.
Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's look back, or
I think so.
That's
I think
pretty
so.
bad right there. Okay.
I think so, because it's so misguided. I mean, we'll ignore my other problems with Dallas Buyers
You
Club,
were so angry.
the fact that he, he played a fictitious character anyway.
Yeah.
But the fact that his character was played for laughs, that's a failure of the writing, and that's not necessarily his fault. But, Jared Leto is supposed to be this method guy, and he goes super deep, and he gets method He said that he talked to some, transgender specialists for his role in Dallas Buyers
There are
Club.
transgender specialists out there?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's people who know what it's like. I mean, from personal
actual real
experience.
I just didn't know.
People?
I was going to say, I don't think there were specialists then.
Well, I think that there's some activists.
Robert Downey Jr. talk to black specialists for Tropic Thunder?
I'm going to punch you in the head if you don't stop interrupting me.
Or one black person.
But, I mean, for some expertise, on the subject, I think some people, who are activists, because just because you are a part of, a minority doesn't necessarily mean you're an activist or that you have to be. So that's what I'm saying. He said he talked to people, that were supposed to have expertise in this matter, but no one in the community has ever come forward and been like, oh yeah, Jared Leto talked to me. So number one, I think he's full of shit.
Yeah.
Number two, this bullshit of him being all method and sending used condoms to his coworkers. That's sexual harassment, and for us to laud it as some kind of deeper understanding of his character, this is 100% his own narcissism coming into play, because he is acting like the whole movie hinges on the Joker, which it does not. In that sense, the character of the Joker in the movie, forgettable, dispensable, not needed.
No.
And for all of this hoopla to have come in the beginning where he brings like a dead pig to the table read, apparently that was one of the stunts that he pulled on set, for him to just act like a madman. All Jared Leto is saying is the movie's totally about me and I'm the greatest that ever graded.
Well, I think the problem is that there are actors like him that are out there that think that the more method they go, the better their performance will be.
And that's the problem. He has bastardized method into something that it shouldn't be. I mean, look at Daniel Day-Lewis. With him, it works.
With him at work, well, he's just
it's not always convenient.
He's just a better actor, in my opinion. Daniel Day-Lewis is a far superior actor to Jared Leto.
He might be the finest actor of his generation.
There's no comparison. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's not always convenient. Method's not always convenient, because the first Oscar he got, My Left Foot?
Yes.
He didn't do anything on set that his character couldn't have done, so everybody on set had to wait on him hand and foot.
Right.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
But so not always convenient. Sometimes method can put people out. But I think what Jared Leto did, and I don't know if this was publicized, as a publicity stunt, something that was manufactured by the studio to garner more interest in the film. But when you victimize the people that you work with, you've shattered that method process because nobody in the movie trusts you.
Well,
your actors, your coworkers. I mean, this is a job when you really look at it.
Well, he didn't do this to Viola Davis because he was scared of her. It's funny how his method goes out the door. It's like, I'm a crazy person who sends these horrible packages to everybody, except Viola Davis, who I'm afraid of.
He actually didn't do it to Viola Davis because he was afraid of her.
No, he was afraid of her and her husband. So
okay, well, I mean, personally,
where's that method there? I thought he was the Joker.
Well, I guess for me personally, I knew this was going to be bad from the start. The minute I saw that their interpretation of the Joker is that he's got fucking tattoos and he's got this Lou Reed look, and he's a gang, and he's kind of like a weird, like urban gangster type thing too.
Let's talk about the tone of the movie is MTV's scissored Hot Topic.
Yes, yes, I think that's exactly it right there. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And so obviously the Joker had to be some thug life, tatted up, gangster. It wasn't the Joker. If he wasn't playing the Joker and he was just playing mob boss, it wouldn't have been ridiculous. Any different.
It still would have been ridiculous. But it wouldn't have taken an iconic character and ruined it.
Yeah.
Which he did.
Dye the hair to like a normal color and take the white makeup off his face, and it's not the Joker. Now, you take the green hair off of Heath Ledger and the makeup off the face, you'd be like, why does the Joker just look like a normal guy? Like, that's clearly the Joker.
Oh, well, he appears in The Dark Knight as a normal guy. Remember? He has the regular makeup, and it still is fucking bone-chilling. Right. Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
I think part of that is to blame for this version of the Joker we have. Because I think Jared Leto said, well, look what Heath Ledger did. He locked himself in a hotel room, and he was writing a diary as a Joker. That's pretty method. I think I should do that, too.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of takes it to the nth degree. The problem is that we'll never have a performance like Heath Ledger's Joker ever again. It won't exist.
No, which is a shame.
We said the same thing about Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I think every version of the Joker exists on its own merits, okay? Mm-hmm. We were saying before the show that there are different versions of the Joker that we've seen. Okay, you've got the gangster version of the Joker,
There's
which
the Golden Age, the
Yes.
Silver Age, and the Bronze Age of comic books.
and I think this version of the Joker doesn't exist in any of that. It doesn't even exist in the modern age of comic books, where you've got like New 52 references.
The closest thing he is obviously the gangster, the Jack Nicholson, the Golden Age Joker.
But it's just a piss poor, tatted up version of that. Like, he's not even scary. Like, that's the thing is, the Jack Nicholson's Joker was scary because he was just a homicidal maniac.
Oh yeah.
Who would laugh as he kills you. And
Heath Ledger was
just terrifying.
He was so unbalanced.
Yes.
You did not know what he was doing.
Well, if you take a look at the two of them, what Heath Ledger's, Heath Ledger's not a big guy, right? But what he does is terrifying. The way he acts is terrifying. Jack Nicholson, while that movie is, well, I mean, it certainly has its dark tones, especially for '89 and for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But for a superhero movie in '89, I mean, it was kind of shocking. It was dark for its time. Nicholson is an intimidating guy.
Yeah.
So he's physically intimidating. So why it's a little more clowny, which we're talking about the Joker, so it's weird that it's more clowny. He's a very intimidating person.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if Heath Ledger, so many names. If Jared Leto is going to be like that character, the problem is that he's 5'6" and a $110 soaking wet, and I wouldn't be intimidated by that man for a second.
Right.
Especially when he's dancing like he raided Prince's closet after he died. Well, these are up for auction.
Well, I think the problem too is it's really, really easy to play the comparison game, and like you said, no one ever thought that anyone could compare to Jack Nicholson, and now we have Heath Ledger's iteration. Yeah. So if we throw those out the window and we don't play the comparison game, Jared Leto's performance is still contrived, forced, and bad. Yeah. He did not do a good job, and I think that even too, there was not a lot of strong work with the actors, and I don't know if that's because it was mainly green screen, or sometimes I know that the environment can really affect things, or if we just didn't have a director who's good with the actor. But I didn't think that Will Smith was good.
No.
I didn't see Deadshot. I saw, scraggly Fresh Prince with a haunted past. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't seem like a new character to me. He just seemed like he is in every movie. Like, he's, Will Smith's not that great of an actor.
He's really
Will
gone
Smith.
Downhill.
And too, I mean, like, it just seemed like, Men in Black, like his character from that, same over and over. And I actually really do like Margot Robbie, and I think she could do some good things, but she was not consistent in her performance. She dropped the accent in half of her scenes. It was distracting.
She had 3 or 4 accents.
She had a couple different accents.
Totally took me out of the movie. It was such a bummer.
I just had a problem with the depiction of Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn is a character that in the beginning of her history is pretty much a target for abuse. She's in an abusive relationship with the Joker.
She's there to be a victim.
Yes.
It's there to show how sick and sadistic the Joker is. She's a tool.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm pissed about.
That's why she shouldn't have a starring role. She's a tool. And she also shouldn't have a starring role in a movie surrounded by other heroes. It's a problem with Batman and the Justice League. We are all gods and this weirdo billionaire in a cape. Shut up, guys.
Weirdo billionaire.
I have my little, homosexual sidekick.
That weirdo billionaire is smarter than all of those heroes in there. Okay, he has contingency plans built for every single superhero.
AKA
that's his
superpower.
You're a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
You're a fucking nerd. You're a fucking nerd.
Okay. Damn right, I'm a fucking nerd. Proud of it.
But yeah, I mean, but it just, I get so upset because I wanted to have fun with one fucking movie this summer.
This summer has honestly been fucking terrible. I think this is the worst summer for movies I've ever been.
And as much as I think, Ghostbusters had its problems, it still was more fun than this shit show.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say that. I think I actually agree with you. Independence Day is still the worst.
Yeah, nothing is going to be worse than Independence Day.
Yeah, I would say Independence Day is definitely the worst. Ghostbusters was tolerable.
Like, you could kind of turn your brain off during Ghostbusters.
I don't want to turn my brain off during Ghostbusters.
Sometimes I like turning my brain off. It's fun. But, like, I feel like, too, it had a lot of stuff going for it, from a feministic standpoint.
I guess.
Once you take that away, like, I mean, with Suicide Squad, there was nothing. There was nothing redeemable at all.
It's just a hollow shell of a movie. That's exactly what it was.
Well, the Joker was also completely unnecessary to this movie. And there is a problem when you're catering specifically to a comic book audience. I feel that the film, even if it's based on another medium, should stand alone on its own merits, and that people that have never even picked up a comic book, if you lived under a rock and you don't know who the Joker is, you should still be able to go into this movie and follow it and see it as a cohesive movie. Because as a movie, there's literally no reason why this one villain gets all this backstory. It's like, why are we following this Harley Quinn character's backstory with this guy who's barely in the movie and doesn't really do anything to serve the purpose of the plot? It's like, oh, it's because they're Harley Quinn and the Joker, and because they have a lot of history.
Yeah, there's no point to him being in the movie.
What did you think of Batman and Flash showing up in the movie?
What do you think of his Joker's Harajuku mobsters and giant panda outfit? But no,
Flash.
Yeah, Flash was
Boomerang.
Boomerang is a Flash villain.
I'd say he's on the Mount Rushmore of Flash villains.
Yeah,
Boomerang.
He's up there with Captain Cold.
Yeah,
and a couple other.
I gotta bone up on my nerd cred.
And sent Reverse Flash and Zoom.
Hey, you're the average audience member. We appeal to the psoriasis cover 300-pound virgins.
Yes, there ain't nothing average about this beefsteak.
Battlestar Galactica.
But what did you think of those cameos?
You know what? I thought they were all right. I didn't mind them at all. In fact, I thought it kind of added a little something extra.
I didn't mind Batfleck showing up.
And
I hate Batfleck.
I know you really do.
I hate him.
But I didn't mind him showing up. It made a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah. Remember when your mom said that that Ben Affleck was a good Batman because he was cute?
Your mom said that?
His mom said that Ben Affleck's cute. I thought I was going to throw up on the floor.
Did you say, Mom, you're dumb?
And I said, no, Mom, I'm glad you have cancer.
Just when you think you're going to be dark, Brian, he'll take it for you.
Guys, I'm just kidding. She's dead.
But he's not. You are the worst. She's fine. She just thinks Ben Affleck is cute, and she's a little misguided.
But no, by the way, there was also no problem with Batman punching Harley Quinn in the face. Can we chill out a little bit? All the people freaking out.
Were people freaking out about that?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people were upset that he punched Harley Quinn in the face, but...
Well, she's a villain.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, like, feministically...
Quit breaking the law.
There's a lot of things feministically to be mad about in this movie. Like, that's not one of them.
No, I think the costume that they gave Harley Quinn, I think, is more reason...
No, I like fighting evil with tiny
pants?
shorts up my ass. It's the only way to fight, evil or fight good as you would with her.
You never know which one it is. Is it good? Is it evil?
I frequently need my tits out in order to get my day complete.
These movies are business, and her in hot pants equals money. That's... all there is to it. I'm not justifying. I'm saying this is why they did it, though.
I think you are justifying it, though.
Oh, it made me happy, but I'm not justifying it.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem. Like, this is the problem, because this is every fucking movie for me, you guys.
Yeah.
To see some girl in tight pants, like, boring. I mean, Margot Robbie's ass isn't boring, per se, but...
No, her ass
but like, when we see Chris Hemsworth in a pair of nicely tailored jeans, like, this is what I have to put up with all the time.
Did you have a problem with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in Batman Returns?
Well, of course. I mean, she's in skin-tight leather.
I
It's
did not
ridiculous.
have a problem with that.
But yeah,
I didn't either.
I mean, it's insane, but
you can tell her religion if you look close enough.
Right, they had to vacuum her into the goddamn thing. Like, she almost fainted
but
a couple
here's the
times.
thing, though. The character of Catwoman has always had that type of costume.
Right, but
Always.
it's been drawn by men.
Well, Harley Quinn is also nothing more than a naive sexual victim.
Yeah.
That's her whole character.
She's a sexy lamp, you guys. That's it.
Well, the thing is,
her character in the comic books is not a sexy lamp.
Well, they showed that they didn't give a fuck about what was in the comic
I'm just saying, like, she becomes someone who becomes a villain and... somewhat of an antihero in her own right. I mean, in the Suicide Squad comic book, she is like a main character.
Yeah, and they just flushed her down the toilet in the movie.
You even look at like the animated series. I mean, there are episodes. Some of the best episodes in the Batman animated series are when she's partnered up with Poison Ivy, and they're kicking ass on their own without the Joker.
Ship Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy pretty hard. Like, I ship that big time.
But I'm just saying, like they ignored all of that.
Oh yeah,
and just gave us the Arkham Asylum version of Harley Quinn. Like, that's what we got.
They just gave us some Arkham tits and ass. That's
in the cartoon, she's in a skin tight,
Yeah, but
jumper.
it's
right. But if there's a brain in there, I find myself not minding that so much.
Right.
There was no brain.
Does she? No
heart, no soul, nothing.
I don't. As we stated earlier, she is just simply a tool to show how awful the Joker is.
In some iterations, but as Brian said, you can take the character and handle it better now. I mean,
what about the episode where the Joker is bothered by her or annoyed by her and throws her out of a window to kill her, and she lands on like some garbage or something, lives and says, "I guess I didn't get the joke."
From the animated series?
Yes.
I'm not saying.
Yeah,
that
I'm not saying that. I'm not
it's
saying
a
that
perfect
her.
situation.
I'm not saying that her character is not basically derived as the victim. I'm just saying that she has an evolution as her character's been in the canon for so long.
Yeah,
where
and
it isn't always just that she's a victim. There have been times when she has stood up and been her own character.
And that's what I wanted to see. That's
and
the
you
Harley
think
Quinn
in
I
a movie
want.
like Suicide Squad, where the whole purpose of her being in it is to be a main character, that you would get some iteration of those elements. But that's not what we got. What we got was, oh, look, she's just dumb. Like, she was dumb.
Just blissfully ignorant, honestly.
Blissfully ignorant.
Unaware of the world around her.
Just quite literally, as you said, as the sexy lamp. And she was there to be the victim of the Joker again and again.
And that's
Well, the problem is there's no main character in this movie, but Harley Quinn gets the backstory of a main character.
Yeah, well, so does Deadshot. We
Deadshot
hardly
gets
mentioned him at all.
Yeah.
Right. But Deadshot actually has a story from beginning to end. We kind of just get random pieces of how Harley Quinn became Harley Quinn for absolutely no reason.
The editing in that was
Now,
very
oh my
bad.
God.
Very
Deadshot's
bad.
character is, no matter how lame it is for his character to have an arc, for Harley Quinn, it's just, oh, here's just somehow she became this character because you know her from the comic books, but it has no place in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like in the original X-Men movie if Storm just randomly had flashbacks to, how she became Storm. And it's just like, why? Why Storm? She's not even really that important of a character in the movie. I know Harley Quinn was a little more important than Storm was in the first.
Yeah, no, it's not apples to apples, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's because they knew, well, people really love Harley Quinn and they really love the Joker. So even though it doesn't make any sense for this movie, we are going to push that. If they had just made the Joker the fucking villain of the movie, it would have all made fucking sense.
It's true. It would have.
But it still might not have made this a good movie.
John, you got blob monsters and the Enchantress.
Yeah, this movie is a video game music video.
Literally, it was blob monsters. Like, monsters made out of blob.
I've played video
goo.
games with better storylines in this fucking movie.
But the movie plays out like a video game. It's like, oh, we got a bunch of guys
Boss
attacking.
here,
We need
boss here.
Yeah, let's kill those, and then let's go in the building and investigate. And another
level.
attack scene. It's a video game.
It is.
It's
And then,
paced cut
I
a
don't
video
get
game.
why they suddenly end up in a bar like, well, we fucked up.
That might have been the only good scene
Like-
in the movie, though, because you actually get some level of character development.
Yeah, because you get the backstory for, the guy with the fire.
Yeah, his whole big thing, which honestly...
We haven't
killed
even
his
gotten. Oh my
kiddos.
god, we haven't
they
even
wasted
gotten to
him. They wasted him.
Mm-hmm.
He that was a really good character because that character is supposed to show empathy and regret for the stuff he's done. Okay, you didn't get that from any of the other characters. He actually had some dimension to
but
his
it's
character,
funny, he
but
had
they
his
wasted
arc
it
before the movie.
Yes.
He was already contrite for his actions before the actions in the movie.
And his
Yeah.
whole big thing was, okay, well, he's going to go ahead and he's going to unleash his fire again. Like, that was his arc. Was I don't do violence anymore, and then it was I'm going to do violence again. But
That's my secret. I'm
that's
always
my
angry,
secret,
right?
Yes, it's the same bullshit. Yeah. Okay, I just felt they wasted him, like seriously wasted him as a character.
It'd be like a
did.
character quit drinking in the movie and tells us he quit drinking, and then at the end of the movie, there's only one way I can save the day. I got to drink a whole bottle of whiskey. You did it. You saved us.
My liver hurts, guys.
I pissed my pants. Actually, I think Jared Leto pissed his pants and mailed that to Margot Robbie.
Oh my
Pretty
god.
Pretty sure. No, he was abhorrent.
Here's my Depends that I took a shit in.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. Was he trying to do a Heath Ledger impression, by the way?
Yes, he was.
He was horrible.
Oh, I can't wait to show you all my toys. It sounded like a
Horrible.
really bad Heath Ledger.
He was horrible. He was horrible. Words just can't even explain how horrible he was.
Okay. Well, and so I guess at this point,
Fuck
perhaps
this movie.
we should get to what roughly the story is about.
Well, that's not really our thing. I mean, either you
That's
saw
not
the movie
really
or
our
you
thing.
didn't.
If you saw
I
the
mean,
movie, you did.
Yeah.
I think that we talked about the major elements that this movie didn't work. I wish that there was something we could even begin to address that did work in this movie, but I really didn't see it.
As I said, I felt only the first act really somewhat worked.
Because it didn't have a defined second and third. I didn't think.
No.
It was all very
the first
muddled
act
and very confusing.
was okay. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to say it was good. Mm-mm. I'm going to say it was okay. Mm-hmm. Because, you're getting, pictures of these characters. Oh, it's flashing back. That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it just kind of goes fucking downhill at that point. And as you said, it becomes a video game. And that's literally what you've got. So, I mean, I think this movie is just a giant example of studio fuckery. Mm-hmm. Like, quite literally. And I've said this, I really think that this whole summer has been a giant example of studio fuckery.
This is why we can't have nice things.
They don't make movies anymore. They make franchises. And the problem is when you are thinking 37 movies ahead, you get a convoluted piece of mess. Mm-hmm. The reason the Christopher Nolan movies, like the first and second of his Batman trilogy, are good, and while Dark Knight Rises is not that great, it's still better than most. Yeah, is because he wanted to just make the movies about Batman. He wasn't thinking, I gotta tie it into the Flash, and I got a Green Lantern thing coming up, and Cyborg. No, he just made the movies about Batman.
The problem is that
they're good.
You gotta understand, the problem is that they're no longer looking at making auteur superhero movies. They are now looking, and part of it is because of Marvel. Yeah. It's primarily Marvel's fault. Marvel has shown that you can build basically giant franchises and universes within movies with characters that cross over here and there and left and right and all over the place and make a profit. They've been successful at that. Okay? That's true. Say what you will about, the last Avengers movie, but they've been successful with making these movies that are crossovers. The problem, I think, though, is that they get too much, and they get a little bit more. They get a little bit of what DC has been experiencing. Mm-hmm. Where they're trying to jam so much shit that they forget. Oh wow, we have to tell a story. Yeah. At the same time.
Well, because not every franchise is a winner. Here's looking at you, Thor.
I liked Thor.
Oh, sorry.
I liked the first Thor. The second one, I can say that pretty much sucked. But it's the same thing. They were trying to do too much.
Well, in the second Avengers film, they had to literally write a reason why Thor would not be like in Civil War, like why he would not be there to help. So, I gotta leave. See ya, and flies off in the sky. It's like, okay, that was only in the movie to explain why he isn't in the next, Marvel Cinematic Universe film. Completely unnecessary to the film we're watching, but it's because it has to be in there, so there's no question where he is next time.
Age of Ultron was a giant waste of fucking time. It really was. I mean, you've got a character like Ultron that is, one of I guess the high-ranking villains in Marvel's universe, and they wasted it. Yep. And they wasted a perfect opportunity to tell a fantastic story. And instead what they did was they did a checklist. And that's what a lot of these DC Universe movies are now, just checklist movies.
Let's get back to Detective Comics. We got into Marvel a little bit too much there.
It's true. I mean, it's true. But
I'm just making a point that it's Marvel's fault that we end up with DC
started
Universe
this very
movies
slippery slope that we're on.
Yeah. We got to get back to auteur movies about one
where
superhero.
Artists are allowed to handle the subject matter themselves without studio interference.
I think you got to be careful, though. Because you could end up with a Tim Burton.
I mean, it's true. I mean, it has to be a balance, all things in moderation. But I just see this over meddling on the part of the studio, and it has to stop. There's gotta be a balance between that. That's why I think a lot of people look at the 1989 Batman and see that as a really good all around movie, as not just a comic book movie, exactly.
and that was because it had the perfect balance of Tim Burton's vision with Peter Gruber. As the studio version, basically saying, hey, you got to keep some of this comic book elements into it. And when, he did Batman Returns, you got the other side of that, which is something that...
A man run amok.
Yeah.
Well, Tim Burton's masturbatory fantasy. So...
Tis true.
Yeah.
But I'm real glad we saw this on bargain night. And I didn't pay that much money for it because it's fucking...
I found it on the internet.
Smart.
Shh. Don't admit it.
You want to get sued?
I admit nothing.
So yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Suicide
I think that's
Squad,
it,
lads.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it was terrible. And by the way, I would just like to say for the record that we don't purposely go out of our way to be upset by movies or pick movies that'll upset us. We want them to be good.
All I ever want is for them to be good. Like, what are you
really
doing wrong, Hollywood? Why do I hate everything?
Well, we're entering the fall here. We're entering award season, so we might actually have some movies that we're positive about.
No.
I want to see. I still want to see Swiss Army Man. I said that at the beginning of summer. And
I saw Sausage Party and I laughed my ass off.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that.
Oh my god, it's good.
Good.
Well, be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show.
And like us in your hearts, too,
us in your hearts. If you do have a favorite movie you would like for us to review or a question you want to pose to us, you can contact us at our website, cinemapsychoshow.com. And you can also listen to some of our back episodes on there as well. And be sure to subscribe and catch our next show available every Friday. See ya.
Sweet dreams.